Welcome to the Sharpe Way. Yes, another Monday evening, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, the coolest, most awesomest 2 hours of your week. Yes, you must watch and or listen for all 2 hours. It's a rule. Here again, trying to give you something amazing. Happy New Year to everyone. I'm so happy that you all have decided to join me this new year. Look, New Year's. What do we think of and what do we see when it comes to New Year's? Well, if you're watching any type of TV, if you're online, if you're on Facebook, what do you constantly see? You see several types of ads. You see ads for things like weight loss. It's a common thing. You also see ads for things like learn a new language. You see ads for quit smoking today. Why in the world would you hear ads for those three things and other things like that? Because this is a time where people very often decide to make a change. Why? It's just another day, right? January 1st. This wasn't even, for those of you who are history buffs, this wasn't even the beginning of the year. Makes no sense. The middle of winter, right? Why would it be here? Actually, the beginning of the year used to be March, which is obviously spring. How do I know this? Look in your history, you'll figure this out. Think about it. Why is December, Deci for 10, the 10th month of the year? Because it used to be the 10th month of the year. Then there was January and February, and then March was the beginning of the year, spring, renewal, life is good. But now we have January 1. That is now our new year. And why should you care? Because it is symbolic. And we as humans should use dates and times like this. Easter, birthdays, New Year, first day of spring, equinox. Insert thing here as symbolic days for us to decide if we can make change, if we can be better. And we often do it. That's why we have those weight loss commercials and stop smoking commercials and learn a new language commercial, because people are doing that. So I want you to think about that. I want you today, tomorrow, preferably now, look in the mirror and think to yourself, this is a time of renewal. I should renew. What about me can be better? Not what's bad about you. I don't want to hear that. Don't think about what's bad about you. That isn't what it's about. This isn't about criticizing. This is about critical thinking, which is thinking with the desire to be better, thinking with the desire to make things better. You will often hear me talk about making things better. I try to be a very good critical thinker, but not just about our environment, not just about our government, but also about us individually. And why would I care? I care for a very important reason. Because if we are better individually, then we are better as a group. If we are better individually, we are better as a nation, as a movement. We will be better. So I want us all to be better. You have more than once heard me point my finger at you and others. I do. But I do that because first, I point that finger at me. And I try to be better, do something right. Last year at this time, I was coming off of my campaign for governor, and some of you may know this. I had become basically a coffee addict. Yes, for those of you who know me, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any type of hallucinogenic or weed or any of those things, but I drink coffee. And I'd spent so much time in a campaign, staying awake, keeping my energy up, I'd basically become a coffee addict. I was drinking over 9 cups of coffee a day. Yep, I'll say it again. I was drinking over 9 cups of coffee a day, and people who were with me were watching how much I was chugging and putting down. Literally, I was surviving on caffeine and protein. Those of you also know I'm on a keto diet, so I was pumping myself with caffeine and protein. And I realized this last year, I got to cut this coffee thing back. I thought, easy, I can do this. Easy day. Here's what I'll do. I'll just stop cold turkey because I'm super cool and I'll just stop. Yeah, that didn't work. Did I stop? I did. And I couldn't function. I was basically going through withdrawal symptoms from caffeine. So I had to wean myself off. I did not use weed. Not that I'd be against using weed, but I had to wean myself off of coffee, off of caffeine. So eventually I was down to no cups at all for over a month. Then I decided I'll have some back, and now I'm at about 3. Why do I tell you that silly little story? Because that was something that I used New Year's to try to make better, to try to be better. So I would ask you all to consider the same thing. Let's try individually to be better. If you want to tell me a story, I would love to hear that. Give me a call and tell me your story, or I will tell you my story, and we can chat about this or anything else. As always, give us a call, 573-427-5463. It's 573-427-5463. And let's talk about renewal and making some changes. What I want you to think about, when you have that moment, look at yourself in the mirror and say, what can be better? I want you to do 2 things. 2 things. Number 1, I want you in your head to say, what can I measure to be better? Will I have less cigarettes if you want to stop smoking or whatever? In fact, if you want to stop smoking, you might try vaping. Oh, we talked about that last week, didn't we? You might want to try vaping if you want to. Stop smoking. Or if you want to have a new girlfriend or boyfriend, or maybe both. No judgment here. Whatever is appropriate to you, you can do any of those things if you want to. How do you qualify that? And then by what time do you want it to happen? Is that 3 months, 6 months, end of the year? What is that? And once you've done both of those things, once you've decided, here's what I want to achieve, and here's by when I want to achieve it, I want you to do something else for me. Yep, I'm preaching today. Something else for me. I want you to tell 2 people. Tell somebody that you love. It does not have to be romantic love. It can be familiar love, it can be friendship love, doesn't matter, platonic love, all good. And tell somebody else that you respect. Tell those people what you want to achieve and how you want to be better this year. Tell them that you want them to check in on you this year to make sure you've achieved the goal that you said. You measured it, and it was a certain amount of time when it's going to happen. Tell them this, and you can watch us be better. You've just increased the odds of you achieving something that you want. I know I spend a lot of time talking about government and policies and issues and environment all the time. I do. And those things matter. And the same thing to remember, in the same vein, we have to remember that if we're going to have a freer, better society, that also means we individually have to be freer and better. And we have to be responsible for not just what we're doing, but also for us being better. So I know I'm preachy. It's what I do. It's why you listen to me, right? Because I'm sitting here preaching. That's why you listen to me. I want you to realize it's important. Please take some time this week. Use this as an example. Use this as a reason for you to try to be better. Set some goal. Share it with people who you love and or respect. I hope both. That will be awesome. Do that and watch things begin to change. Now, I talk about this for a very important reason. People will very often say, well, Larry, how in the world can we make the society better? How can we make anything better? How can we fix and move on? And we do this by, and you see my policies on this. My policies that I talk about and the ideas of fixing government, fixing laws, fixing the state, fixing the nation, fixing your town or your community is very rare the idea of here is something that will fix every single small issue and piece in your world. It's very rare I discuss that. What I do is I focus on one thing. Let's fix this one thing and move in the right direction, and then watch how other things around it begin to repair themselves. Watch how once you start to fix one thing, you fix many things. In my own world, I've seen that when I focused on one aspect of my life, I find that I will often fix other aspects of my life. If you start to fix one aspect of your environment, you will find you will often change multiple aspects of your environment. If we start to change one aspect of a law, we will find we'll often change multiple laws that go around that. You will find this happening. The issue that we have here recently in New York, and it's a very controversial issue, and I'll bring it up, it's bail reform. It's a big issue in New York State. There's recently just enacted new bail reform. It is not the perfect law. I get it. It's not the perfect law. But just the idea that we would attack bail and try to make it better. There will be people who are going to say, well, wait a minute, it should include this or shouldn't include that. It should include this. The entire concept of making that change will make things better. And while some people are fighting it, saying, Larry, no, this bail reform is terrible, get rid of it, then we have no change on bail reform. Then we have no change in our criminal justice system. Let's focus on this for now. And let's move it and make it better, because there are some holes. It's true. It's not perfect. But now, once we start getting prosecutors, once we start getting judges to start making some determinations here, before you know it, now we'll have some rulings. Now we'll have some adjustments. Now we'll have some rules on how to make this work better. Fix the one and watch the rest begin to get repaired. Critical thinking is about trying to make things better. Focus on one thing, and you will watch the others begin to get repaired. All right, let me grab a quick phone call if I can. I'm going to stick in New York. I guess New York, I am a New Yorker. A lot of people in New York here. Michael from New York. Michael, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Larry?
I'm doing great. Talk to me, brother.
First of all, did you make any New Year's resolutions?
I did. And the first one.
Have you in the past?
Oh, in the past, I just talked about one. I was going to cut back my coffee. That was last year after the campaign, and it worked. I did it. It was hard. It took me a while. I did it, but I actually had two last year. One I didn't do. One was to quit coffee, which I did, and I got back to a reasonable amount. I have about 2 or 3 cups a day now, which is much more reasonable than over 9. And the second one I had last year was to learn more Spanish, and I didn't. My Spanish is just as bad as it's always been. So I was not good with my Spanish. So I decided that this year I'm going to retake up the Spanish. I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to retake up Spanish, and I also decided another one. I'm going to sleep better. So those are my two New Year's resolutions: sleeping better and learning more Spanish.
Well, I did the exact opposite thing.
Okay.
Instead of making 2 in 1 year, I made 1 for 2 years. Now, I did it 100% the first year. I'm going to try to for the second, but it may be a lot tougher.
Okay, tell me.
My New Year's resolution was no half measures.
No half measures?
Anything. Yes, sir.
Wow.
That means not doing anything halfway through, like paying half of your electric bill. That never helps anyone. Mm-hmm. And I did a lot of things that a lot of people didn't like, a lot of family didn't like. And the second year, it might even be harder. I'm still trying, just like you're trying, Larry. And you did learn some Spanish, just like you cut back on some of your coffee intake. Mm-hmm. So maybe your last year's resolution is like mine. It was a 2-year New Year's resolution.
Oh, I like the way you look at that. See that? Yes. The thing that it's important to realize, and there's a lot of data on this, failing, as long as you can get back up, is actually very good for human beings, right? Learning from the error, seeing that you made the mistake, getting back up actually builds resilience, right? When you go, you know what? Yeah, I screwed it up. I was supposed to do that, and I didn't. But I'm not going to give up. I'm going to get back on the horse and try again. The hardest part, Michael, as you know, and you're obviously saying this, is doing it again, is saying I failed, but I can do it again. It's not surrendering once you fail. And the sad part is a lot, particularly of our youth, they don't get back up. Their resilience is very low.
Exactly. And I love you, Larry Sharpe. You're awesome. You speak for the people.
Oh, thank you.
And have you ever heard of anyone actually doing a resolution and going through with it? I'm the only one that I can think of that I've done.
It is very hard. I've seen people do it here or there, but to be full with you, I think most people, they have two outlooks on resolutions. One, it's just for show, right? It just makes you feel good because I say it up front and it's not really real and it feels good. So they say something like, I'm going to, get married this year, or I'm going to find my cool girlfriend this year. But they actually will change nothing, right? I think that's one style. And the other style is someone who really does want to, but they make resolutions that, one, either are unrealistic, like, I'm going to find the perfect girlfriend, or I'm going to, lose 100 pounds in a year, or something that they really can't do. I'm going to quit smoking cold turkey. Or the opposite.
Maybe,
They tell nobody anything and just hope.
maybe we can start them to be called Sharpe resolutions, where if it's not completely done in the first year, the person can completely finish it in the second year.
I love that. Sharpe resolutions. Resolutions where
Exactly.
you try to get them done in the first year, but if you can't, you can get them in the second year. I like that very much.
You're awesome, Larry.
I appreciate that, bro. Thank you, Michael.
All right, bye.
Have a good one. This is a great concept, right? I tell people about this often. You don't actually want to be perfect because you can't, right? But it's okay to kind of understand what perfection would be in the perfect world, as long as you get that you're never going to achieve it. That it's a goal that you will always try to achieve, but you'll never get there. The example I will often give with this is a football team, right? If we just had the playoffs, last week? No, yesterday. Yeah, last week. Yesterday, right? So every time a football team's offense gets in the field, every single time they are trying to score. They want to be perfect. That's their goal. They're never going to be perfect, right? But the closer they get to perfection, the better chance they're going to be a championship team. If you know where perfection is and you constantly aim for, if you strive for perfection, you will get excellence. That's for sure. If you really strive for perfection, you'll get excellence. And I think we're trying to strive for that, knocking it out, as Michael says, in the first year. But if we can't get in the first year, we're going to get real close, and we can wrap it up in the second year. Now, that doesn't mean that we, don't want to try to do everything. Of course we want to try. I get it. But there's an evil side or a bad side to this. And that is, I'm talking about striving for perfection. I think Michael's talking about striving for perfection. I'm not talking about demanding perfection. There is a massive difference. Since we will never be perfect, if we demand perfection, we will get deception. Let me say it again. If we demand perfection, we will get deception because we cannot be perfect. Therefore, people will lie. That's how it works. There's no exception to that. So what do we do instead? Well, if it's an individual, right? If I'm the jealous boyfriend or husband or hardcore father or whatever that is, my kid will be perfect, or my wife is perfect, or my girlfriend has got to be perfect, or whatever I'm shaking my fist at for whatever silly reason I am, they're going to lie to me because they can't be perfect. Neither can I. I'm going to have bad relationships. I'm going to have bad people around me. I'm going to have people lying to me. It's going to be bad because I demand perfection. I'm going to get lies and deception. Of course, that's how it works. But this goes one step further. What about if I'm a boss now? I run a business. What do? Well, we come into our conference room, cool conference room, and we have coffee and we drink and we eat in our conference room and everything's good. For 3 years, everybody uses the conference room. Life is good. And then one day, John spills coffee. Damn you, John! You spilled coffee. You have now ruined everything. What's the new rule? No one can have any food in the conference room. That's the end. I'm demanding perfection, so I must make more and more rules, more and more rules, more and more rules. That begins to happen. You create more rules, try to force perfection. You'll never get it. People start breaking the rules. The elites ignore the rules. The people who are not elite get hammered and get punished even more. You now have a punishment environment. People leave because you now become more concerned with punishing imperfections than having an effective business. You might say, Larry, why do I care about that? Because that then makes the next step to government. Some of you may know, recently, it's a terrible tragedy. If I remember exactly where it was, I think it was outside of Pittsburgh. Oh, it was outside of Philly. I forgot. Someplace in Pennsylvania, there was an accident where two buses, two trucks and a bus got into a massive accident. And there were many people killed. I think it was 11 people killed or something like that, or injured. And several of them were New Yorkers. One of them was like an 11-year-old or 9-year-old child. A terrible tragedy. And of course, we send our people down there to look at things and to inspect. And the first thing they're talking about is, what new regulations should we have? So the fact that there was icy roads, 2 trucks hit a bus, people died, what do we have to have? More laws, more regulations, because you know what? If there were just more regulations, then those people wouldn't have died. That's absolutely not true, but it's the norm. And now we expect it. We are constantly worried about punishing imperfection, not about having a better environment. This goes back to the difference that I talked about right at the beginning of the show. The difference between criticizing and critical thinking. Critical thinking is trying to make things better. Criticizing is hammering imperfections. You're not perfect, let me beat you up. Well, once I saw beating people up for being imperfect, who admits to ever having a flaw? Nobody. Who admits to making an error? Nobody. So yet again, when you demand perfection, you will get deception. You are asking people to lie. That's what you're doing, and that's what you are going to get. All right, let me grab a call if I can. I'm going to grab someone, a different topic, but it's okay. We'll talk about anything today. Second Amendment. We're talking to Luke from New York. Luke, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Larry?
What's going on, brother?
There's a couple things that I wanted to talk about really that have pertained to the Second Amendment.
Okay.
One of them was, so it was about the bail reform. I was talking to some family members, and they were talking about, fear of people starting to do vigilante type work, with the new bail reform going the direction that it's going at. And I heard you earlier talking about how you were saying that it's not perfect and it needs to be, kind of looked over and gone over, and that's definitely a fact. But people are fearing that they're going to go towards the vigilante type thing with the bail reform going on.
Why would we think of vigilantism? What's the thought process? Do you understand what that means? You mean someone who gets out on bail will then be shot by a victim? Is that what you mean?
Well, either that case or with the new law, my stepmother does she actually contacts a lot of people that are in different sorts of law enforcement, and they basically, with the law, they're stating that the person that does the crime actually has the right to your information, and they have the right to come back to basically what you want to call quote unquote crime scene and question people and all sorts of things like that. And she feels like either way, people are going to do things that way, or, people are going to go on a different route of it and, try to prevent things from happening.
I see. Okay, I see your point. Yes. Well, let me cover a couple aspects. The first thing is there are other states who have this kind of reform. I think there are 8 other states, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure someone will text me and correct me, but I believe it's 8 other states that have this same type of bail reform. And so far, they've had none of that. So at the moment, there is no evidence. They've had it for years, right? Years and years, this kind of bail reform saying that you could do these types of things, and they've had none of this happen. It's not been an epidemic. There's been no problems at all. What actually winds up happening is the individual doesn't go back and can't go back. And the reason why the individual can't or won't go back is just because someone has bail doesn't mean they don't have orders of protection. Right? So very often they'll have bail but order of protection, or bail but they'll have an ankle bracelet on, or the ankle bracelet that keeps them within their home or within a certain area. So they'll often have that anyway. So they can't go back to the person to hurt them, legally at least. I mean, they physically can if they want to, but there is still a punishment or a reason to stop them. But it does allow, for example, a private investigator to go back, or it does allow, say, an attorney to go by. Now, the reality of it is, most people who are having trouble with bail are poor. That's a fact. That's why we have bail reform. So what poor person can afford a lawyer who can do that, or a private investigator? None. And if you're wealthy, you pay your bail anyway, and you go out, and you have private investigators and expensive lawyers. You already have that already. So the wealthy still get away with it. It doesn't matter. They always can and they always will, right? That's how it works. I'm not saying that's the right answer. I'm just saying that's reality. It is the poor person who doesn't have the private investigators and have the super lawyer. They're the ones who are affected by bail reform more than anything else. So I don't think you see that. If it does happen, please, I'd love you to call me or let me know or reach out to me via social media. I don't think that's going to happen. If it is, then guess what? Let's make a change to that law right away. If your mom is correct, and she might be, I mean, she's closer to that than I am. If she's correct, then let's stay on it and let's make a change. My worry is if we don't make this change to bail reform, then we're just going to put a whole lot of people in jail for nothing. Because the reason behind the idea of being able to go back to the crime scene is because, I don't know if you know this, if you know anyone who's been in the system, is what used to happen is the prosecutor would have evidence against you, and they would tell you literally a day or two before your trial. Well, they would have weeks and sometimes months to prepare the way to attack you and show how bad you are, and you would have almost no real recourse in being able to defend yourself. Now, again, if you're wealthy and you have, a powerful law firm with private investigators, you go out and get your own stuff because you're rich. But if you're not wealthy, you're depending upon a public defender. The public defender can have anywhere from 50 to 200 cases. And all of a sudden they get your information 2 days before your trial. They're not going to go over anything. They don't have the physical time or resources. You're finished. Right now, how it works in most of America, including New York State, if you can afford to write a check for 6 figures or more, you can get a fair trial in the United States. In New York, and if you're guilty, you can get fair sentencing, right? You won't go to jail for extra. You'll go to jail for what you did. If you're very wealthy and you can write a check for 7 figures, you can get off even if you are guilty. If you can't write either of those 2 checks, you're guilty. There's no way around it. The bail reform concept is a good concept. I do believe there are problems with it, and your mother's fear may be a real fear. So far, we have not seen in other states. But if she's right, then let's stay on top of this, man. Let's fix it. But let's still let the bail reform get out, because bail reform helps the underprivileged. It helps the poor farmer. It helps the guy who's working a job where if he gets sick and he can't work, that's the end. It helps the plumber. It helps the truck driver. You're an owner-operator truck driver and you get arrested and you can't afford bail, you're finished, man. That's the end. You can't drive. You're done. You would plea, even if you're not guilty, just to get back on the road and to feed your family. And that happens literally daily in America. I want to end that. And this type of bill is the beginning. Admittedly, not perfect. I'm open to making changes. 100%. I'm not open to letting it just stay the way it is. We have, right now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there are actually, right now, they are lowering the standards to hire people because we have so many Americans who have criminal records. We're lowering the standards to bring people into the military because so many people have criminal records. We're lowering the standards of people to get jobs because so many people have criminal records. And you actually have some companies now who are, I'm not making this up, who are refusing to do background checks. Because if they do a background check and they find something bad, they think they're more liable than simply saying they can't afford a background check, so they don't know if anything's happened, because the other option is literally no one in their store. They can't find people who don't have criminal records. This is a problem. And most of these criminal records are because people pled because they couldn't afford bail. That's a problem. Do you see where my head is here?
I do, yeah, definitely. I remember watching a video and they were talking about the whole discretion to the judges and stuff, and I believe it was Jersey that the one video I was watching, they had mentioned has the same type of concept.
Yep.
But they have more discretion towards the judges to do where they see fit on some of the more heavy crimes, basically.
We do too. And this is the problem you're going to see. There's going to be disruption in the first couple of months already. And the reason is we simply aren't ready for this. And the judges and prosecutors don't know how to handle this. And they would be mad if they heard me say it, but it's still true. They don't know how to handle this, right? They're going to make mistakes. And something else. This also makes your DA and your judges more important for you to vote. We vote for our DAs. If you got a DA who's letting everybody out on their discretion, maybe they shouldn't be your DA. Maybe you should care more about who you vote in. Or maybe they're putting everybody away. Maybe you don't like it either. Vote that guy or gal out. This goes back to what I talked about earlier in the show. Having a freer, better society also means we have to be more responsible as voters. So maybe now we care more about who we put in the DA slot. Maybe we care more about, who our judges are. because they're going to have more leeway now. And if we think they're too hard, then tell them to stop being so hard. When they're being too easy, tell them to stop being easy. But let's stop punishing people because they are poor.
Right. No, that makes sense. The second part I was curious on. So actually, there's a comment I was reading on the page that you when you're watching this, and when somebody brought up the Second Amendment sanctuaries for the different cities in New York, and I think it was, I don't know which one, Oneida,
Okay.
Oswego County. They had made a Second Amendment sanctuary city where they're trying to not be, as broad with all these different SAFE Act laws and everything like that. Like,
it's actually,
what's the best way to go about that?
Yeah, it's actually in this case a sanctuary county, which, if you remember, I don't know if you were paying attention to my campaign, but when I was running, I talked about this. People got mad at me when they said Larry Sharpe supports sanctuary cities. And I said, there are going to be sanctuary cities. It's called New York City. It is a sanctuary city. It's not going to change. But how about instead of forcing New York State to adopt everything that New York City does, let New York City be a sanctuary city and let each county be their own sanctuary county for whatever they want to be. Maybe we have sanctuary counties, for Second Amendment, sanctuary counties for federal farm laws, sanctuary counties for illegal aliens in New York City. That's what you're doing. Good. Let each county be itself. This is a great way of beginning. To be forward again, this is going to have a lot of distraction because there's a second piece to having sanctuary counties, and that is you've got to have counties that are more independent. Right? Right now, we have so much of our money that goes to Albany first and then comes back to our county. And we have so much money that is tied up in unfunded mandates in New York State to where so much of the county's money doesn't stay in the county, right? So we have to start with sanctuary counties and together have more county money stay in a county. So each county's paying for what it wants to pay for. If you want to have a sanctuary county for a certain thing and you as a county are paying the price, if there's a price for it, good for you. It's your money, your county. I'm in. Absolutely. I love the idea. But if you remember what I talked about during the campaign, people were saying, oh, Larry Sharpe is silly. You can't get rid of the SAFE Act. Remember that? Oh, so dumb. And that's why Republicans and Democrats both support the SAFE Act in New York State. I was the only candidate who said it was a bad idea and that red flag laws were a bad idea. I was the only one who's saying it. And my way of getting rid of it, I told people, and it's still on my website, LarrySharpe.com, guys, if you want to look at it, still there. It's been there forever, still there. It literally talks about the first step is non-compliance, which is exactly what you talked about, my friend. The idea of having a sanctuary city for the Second Amendment, simply not enforcing those laws, letting them not be enforced. And when they're not enforced, there will be no change. It won't all of a sudden be, oh my God, it's a sanctuary county, and now there's death in the streets, and everyone's shooting out, and it's the Old West. That's not going to happen. You and I both know that. In fact, everybody actually knows that. When that doesn't happen, and there's no difference, then we realize, why do we have these laws? Now we open them up to being repealed. You have to change the culture before we can change that law. Sanctuary Second Amendment counties is an amazing idea. I'm 100% behind it. If I was governor, I'd be screaming it. Go ahead and do it. I'm the one saying stop enforcing it because it doesn't matter. There's no need for the SAFE Act. There's no need for red flag laws. Nothing happened in New York State to make that change. There's zero value for it. Why are we doing it? It's just making law enforcement do more work they shouldn't be doing and often don't want to do. It's just making people in New York State criminals when they bought their firearms legally and have no problem, aren't doing anything wrong. It is bad, bad, bad. So when it comes to sanctuary counties, I'm in. What you want to do is you want to get your county legislature to be able to have a resolution saying that you are a sanctuary county for the Second Amendment.
Right, so like a petition, basically, is what you're saying.
That's correct. And if you're unsure what to do, I'm going to give a quick plug. You can go to your local LP. The Libertarian Party in every county is very happy to assist in this. And if you don't have a Libertarian Party in your county, you can go to the state party nylp.org. We're more than happy to help you out to get that going.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Have a good one, my friend.
All right, you too. Bye.
All right. So, yeah, this is an issue. People are, I talked a lot about the idea of home rule. And if you are a county and you want to have stricter gun control in your county and you want to follow all the SAFE Act and the red flag laws, you know what? Go ahead. It's your county. Do what you got to do. But don't force other counties to be like you. It's okay. The entire concept behind the liberty movement is not that everyone has to or should be free. Actually, it's not. It's that no one should force their views on others. And if you don't want to be free, okay, I'm good with that. You don't have to be free. But please don't force others to not be free. That's the most critical piece. All right, thank you for that call. I'm going to see if I can find some things from online real fast. All right, hold on. People are asking for me to comment on Ricky Gervais, who hosted the Golden Globe Awards last night, SmackDown of the Hollywood Elite. You know, I'm going to bring up this. This is funny. People are asking about it, so I'll give you my comment. As a general rule, I don't care that much. However, there's a big however here. In America specifically, but the world as a whole, popularity really matters. And that will make some of you, want your head to explode. But it's true, no matter what. I mean, think about what Kim Kardashian has done for prison reform. I mean, she literally got the ear of President Trump to make changes in prison reform, right? I mean, that's literally what she's done. She got the ear of leaders to get things done. Why? Because she's super smart or a super good lawyer or super savvy. No, I'm sure she's smart, savvy. I don't know her at all, but I don't think she's any super smart or savvy. I don't know her at all. Whatever she is. But one thing she really is popular. She's popular. If Kim Kardashian ran for president, boy, would we watch those debates. Yes, we would. Absolutely would. So popularity does matter. So when people like movie stars and such say things, very often it matters. But the issue is, and Ricky Gervais brought up a very important point. And he brought up the point of how so many actors now aren't doing big-time movies. They're doing movies for anything. It doesn't matter what it is, right? I don't know if any of you happen to have a Roku, right? I have a Roku. It's Japanese, by the way. It means 6. I know some Japanese. I know. I didn't learn Spanish, but I learned Japanese, see? So if you have a Roku, you can look and see what's on Roku. There are channels that I had no idea were even channels. Go into a Dish or into a Spectrum. There are channels that I'm saying, is someone actually watching this? I have no idea. And then all of a sudden there's some movie on, and there's some star that I remember from when I was a teenager or something who's on this TV show. They're doing movies and media and content for anything everywhere. They're not stars now. They're plumbers. I'm not trying to insult plumbers at all. I'm actually raising plumbers up. They're everyone else. They're regular people on all types of shows. That's what they're doing. So do they have the right to say, look, I'm so important, I'm so special? Not so much. And I think that was Ricky's point. As we stand there, and in this case, they pat each other on the back and say how awesome they are. At the same time as that's happening, today was the first day of the trial of Harvey Weinstein, the guy who was the epitome of, the casting couch of the Hollywood elite, right? I mean, think about this. Is there any other field where you could say, you want to be a great lawyer? Great. Come sleep with me, and you're a great lawyer. It's not how that works, right? You want to be a great plumber. Come sleep with me. Now you're a great plumber. But in Hollywood, come sleep with me. Now you're a great actress. So, I mean, he does have a point, is what I'm saying. So I don't know if that matters, but I'm glad Ricky smacked people down. It was nice. It's good. I think it let people realize that they aren't as powerful as they thought they were. And hopefully, I think in the long run, it will show that when you have any type of celebrity, that's not really a bad idea to try to use it to take some actual action versus to just virtual signal. And while virtual signaling can be a good thing depending upon who you're talking to, as a general rule, it's not very effective. I would much rather you actually do something. I have more respect for Kim Kardashian getting someone out of jail than I do someone saying, look, I care about Darfur, but doing nothing about it, but just talking about it. So I actually would have more respect for someone who got something done. And I say that as myself talking trash through the holiday season. One of the reasons why I was so busy and so crazy is I was literally helping people get out of jail. I was doing that myself. So as I said, I point the finger at you, but I pointed at myself first. I hope I covered that issue and my thoughts on Ricky Gervais on that issue. All right, someone else asked, how do you feel about bombing Iraq and or killing their general? All right, this often makes the heavy Trump supporters in my audience angry if I ever say anything bad about Trump. But so that you guys know this, and if you know me, you know, Trump is not awesome. Trump is not evil. He's just a man. He does good things and bad things. And I try to give him credit where credit is due, and I hammer him when he should be hammered. In this case, he should be hammered. This was a terrible idea. It was an absolute terrible idea, killing this general. So, Larry, why? They attacked us. I got it. I hear it all the time. Let me tell you why it matters. This was the first time that we assassinated a uniformed member of another country's military without a declaration of war. That's a big deal. This wasn't guys in a tunnel or guys in a mountain or rebels, someplace else. No, this was literally an officer in another country's, a uniformed officer in another country's military. We've just said it's okay to assassinate military officers without a declaration of war. This is really a bad idea. It is going to come back to bite us. And again, this is what all presidents do when they feel like they're in trouble. Remember when Clinton was being impeached? All of a sudden, Yugoslavia, oh my God, Slobodan Milosevic was Hitler, and oh my God, the world was ending. All of a sudden, he was Hitler, and the world was ending. Well, now all of a sudden, Trump's in trouble, and oh my God, this guy's Hitler or whatever. But every single time they kill one of these guys, nothing ever changes. Remember when they got Saddam Hussein 16 years ago? Oh, well, that's it. Things have changed. Nothing changed. Then 8 years ago, they got Osama bin Laden. Remember how things were going to change? No, nothing changed. Then they got al-Baghdadi a couple months ago. It's all going to change? Nothing changed. Now they got this guy, Soleimani. He's dead. What's going to change? Nothing. None of these guys mattered. As each of them gets killed, another guy goes right into his place, and we just make more angry people. I want you to think about this. For those of you who are happy about us bombing and killing that general, ask yourself this. We killed the general. We showed him. Do you think the Iranians go, okay, you guys won. We surrender? Of course not. You make them angrier. And the worst part of this is, this was at a time when the Iranian people were angry at their own government. They were starting protests, and we just gave them a reason to unite. This was not the right answer. This was a bad idea. I really wish he hadn't have done it. It's nothing but a bad idea. We should have not done this. Well, Larry, there was going to be an attack. Great. Then pull out of Iraq. How about that? It's going to be an attack? Pull out. But Larry, if you pull out of Iraq, there'll be chaos. There's chaos now. There's been chaos for, 16 years now? I don't even know how long it's been. There's chaos now. If you think there's going to be an attack, pull out. Get out. Come back home. And then they can kill each other. They can fight over there and blow each other up. They've been doing it for how many thousands of years? And we thought putting 3,000 troops there, whatever number we have there, was going to fix it. It's not. This was a bad idea. I know you Trump guys will be mad at me now. Sorry, but it was a bad idea. I hope I answered that question at least. All right. How would you go about creating 2A sanctuary counties in New York? I covered that earlier today. Do you think the government will change the adult age to 21? Will they change the age of military enlistment? This is an interesting thing. The tobacco 21 that we talked about last week, for those who don't remember, this is the idea of now you have to be 21 years or older to buy tobacco products. I don't get this. I don't get the logic in this. I don't think there is a logic in it. I think it's just for other reasons other than logic. I feel like we're just creating more reasons to punish people. I want you to think about what just happened. If 2 months ago you were a 19-year-old Marine in Iraq smoking a cigarette, 2 months later you are now a criminal. Does that make any sense? Does that make any sense at all? So you can pick up a rifle, die and or kill for your country. That's fine. And live with those consequences. Live with the consequences of TBI, traumatic brain injury, PTSD. Live with those consequences. No worries. But don't live with the consequences of smoking a cigarette. Live with the consequences of $100,000 in debt to go to college. All good. Live with those consequences, but not to smoke a cigarette. So live with the horrible consequences that will last the rest of your life, except if it's tobacco. That, no. This is a terrible idea. However, the question isn't whether that was a bad idea or not. The question is, do you think the government will change what it is to be an adult to 21? I think that's where it's going. I know that sounds horrible, but I think that's where it's going. Think about it. With Obamacare, you can be on your parents' health care until you're 27. How is that okay? It is, because we're literally saying, please don't grow up, kids. Stay kids, right? Not just that, go to family court. You as a parent who doesn't have your child and has to pay for your child's education, you have to pay by law until they're 21. You have to pay another adult. By law, you must pay for another adult's education. How is that legal? Kids' education, I get. But once you're 18, why is that required? I know you'll say, but Larry, shouldn't parents pay for their teens' college? If they want to, go ahead. It's your teen. Please pay. But you shouldn't have to pay by law. You should pay because you're a parent and you care about your kid and you pay for their college. Good for you. Make your decision. Your kid, your money. Enjoy. But now you have to. 21 now to drink. 21 now to smoke. Remember, it used to be 21 to vote, guys. Only about 40 years ago was 21 to vote. We going back there? All of a sudden you can't vote? Now you might say, but what about the age of enlistment? No way. That will always be young. That will always be young. You got to have young men in the military. That's when we're motivated and want to go. That's when we feel the most excited. They're never going to change that one. But should they? Logically, yes. But I think what's going to wind up happening is to do anything with the exception of kill or break a law, you will have to be 21 years old. But here's the best part. Even if you're 21, here's what I guarantee you. Do something the government doesn't like or hates, rob, steal, drugs, kill, murder, they will charge you, even if you're 14, 15, 16, they will charge you as an adult, guaranteed. They will punish you as an adult, but you get no benefits of an adult until you're 21. I think you're already seeing that happening now, and I don't think that trend is going to stop. I think we're on our way to kind of keeping, turning our 18, 19, 21-year-olds, keeping them children as long as we possibly can. I think the government's doing it. Our society's doing it. Parents are doing it too. I mean, so it isn't just the government. Parents are doing it, and they're voting for it. And they're happy to keep their kids as long as they can. You've seen this where there's some kids who go on a job interview, and their parents go with them. I'm not making this up. Now, if you're a millennial, you have the idea of adulting. Oh, I'm adulting today because I have to act like an adult because I'm not really one. That concept. I do think it is happening. I don't think they'll change, though, the enlistment age. I think that'll stay. I think right now it's actually 17. You can enlist at 17, but because I did, I enlisted at 17, but you can't be in a war zone unless you're 18. So they train you up at 17, so that when you're 18, right into war, right? So you can enlist when you're 17, go off to war when you're 18. All right, so I hope at least I answered your question. A lot of questions online today. You guys don't want to call me today? I don't mind. I'll take these. All good. If you want to call, by the way, then put the number up again in case some of you do want to call. You can call 573-427-5463. Happy to chat with you about New Year's or any of these other issues that you want to chat about. All right. What are your thoughts on the new no bail reform? I did cover that earlier. I hope you guys heard that one. Do you think there's going to be another draft for the military? No, I do not. I do not think we're ever going to bring the draft back. I don't think we are. I get that some people like it and they want to, do a draft. They think we'll have better kids if they draft, and that might be true. I don't know if that will actually be true or not, but it might be true. Doesn't matter. One, I'm against a draft. It's non-voluntary. I think we need to have a voluntary force. So I'm personally against a draft 100%. And I don't think America is ready for a draft, right? Because if a draft comes, then the wealthy have to go off and fight wars. As a general rule, the wealthy don't fight wars, right? The wealthy and educated tend to not fight wars, and that changed heavily during Vietnam, right? During the Vietnam War is really when that began to happen more than anything. So I do not think that there'll be another military draft. I don't see it. And why shouldn't there be? To be forward, if we can't get enough people to actually volunteer to defend our nation, what kind of nation do we have? I still would to this day. I'm an old man, and I would still jump in if we had to. If the Chinese are coming across the border, they're not coming across the border. But if they were coming across the border, I'll pick up my M16. Do they still use M16s now? I'm an old man. Did when I was in. Whatever. I'll pick up my M16 and go back into battle. I don't mind. I would do it. Of course I would. But I would do it voluntarily. And if we were being attacked. So of course I would. All right. We'll grab another one. Do you think Iran is the beginning of World War III? You know, I do think something is true. I'm unsure it's World War III. I'm unsure of that. In fact, here's an interesting story. Some kids I know came back to their home talking about to their parents. I heard through the grapevine, oh my God, they're going to start nuking New York City. Is it World War III? Is it World War III? Because the kids in school were talking about this, right? And here is a scenario, right? Here's a scenario. Scenario is the Iranian leadership is so angry about what happened to one of their own, they start spewing even more hatred. There are some rebels within the Iranian leadership who decide we're going to show you Americans, and then they take off and they kill one of our leaders, either civilian here, retired general, or some general who's over there, or some field officer over there. And from that, we lose our minds. And Marines hit the beach in Iran somewhere, or something like that happens. That's the scenario that in theory would start World War III. But I don't think we'll start World War III. I think if anything, there'll be a proxy war in Iran. Now, who are the two countries who really want us to invade Iran? That would be China and Russia. Boy, would they love if we invaded Iran. If we invade Iran, China would be like, great, we'd love you to invade and invade for like 30 years, and they would shove all money into Iran. They'll build up their economy while we destroy our economy fighting unnecessary wars. Russia will try to build their economy up or expand their world while we get bogged down in another Middle Eastern war. They would love that to happen. So do I think there'll be World War III? No. Do I think this could be the beginning of a proxy war? Yes. Another Vietnam? Yes. Another Iraq? Yes, absolutely. And it'll be because of what Iran's counterattack will be that will make America lose its mind. The second thing that Trump did that was bad is he threatened to attack cultural centers. Imagine if they were telling us, we're going to blow up the stock exchange, or we're going to attack Mount Rushmore or Statue of Liberty or whatever, right? Whatever they decide. We would lose our minds. And if we lose our minds, all of a sudden we got Marines landing in beaches in Iran. Are there beaches in Iran? I assume there are. We'll be landing on those beaches. So I don't think it's World War III, but I do think it can be the beginning of a proxy war. And I think decades from now, this assassination will be something historians talk about as a turning point in warfare, global warfare in general. This was a big deal. It doesn't seem like it now, maybe, but I think in the long run, it will be. All right. I want to grab some calls. I've been doing a lot of stuff online. I want to grab a couple calls. I'm going to go over to Colorado. I've been in New York a bunch. I'm going to go to Colorado, and I'm going to grab Matt from Colorado. Matt, are you there? Matt, are you there?
I am.
Hey, Matt, what's going on?
Hey, Larry, it's Matt DG from Colorado. Good to hear your voice, man. I love the show you got going on.
Thank you. I appreciate it. What do you want to talk about today?
New Year's resolutions for the Libertarian Party.
I love it. Give me one.
So I've got two resolutions that I'd like to make. One, as far as a goal, is I'd like to see us get one person elected at a state representative level. And I really think that's going to be possible with the Frontier Project. What they're doing out there.
Hold on. When you say state, do you mean like to Congress or to a state house?
To a state house.
Oh,
to a state
okay,
house.
gotcha.
I think that's the logical way to look at that. Walk before we run kind of thing.
Love it.
And beyond that, I think it's very important that over this nominating process that we treat each other far more decently than we did in 2016. Because when I look around the party, I see a lot of different people from different factions or caucuses, as you may have it, and all of them have different skills and abilities that are going to be very, very valuable in creating winning teams that will build and grow throughout many, many campaigns over the years.
Mm-hmm. 100%
And we need
agree.
to treat each other more decently, and we need to focus on those strengths, and we need to pull each other in, no matter who wins this nomination process, and look at those skills and abilities and utilize people in ways that we can grow this party. Because the growth of the Libertarian Party is the number one goal for all of us, regardless of who that nominee is. And as long as that nominee knows where ballot access is on the line based on what they garner in the election, we need to support that person and push them as far as we can.
I am with you 100%. Look, and again, as I always talk about, the idea of me pointing a finger at others, I must point it at myself. If any, those of you who remember 2016, I was the one trying to make some changes to that ticket. No one spent more time, money, and energy trying to make that ticket a Johnson Sharpe ticket than this Sharpe right here. Of course, that's what I did. And when I didn't get that nod, and it became Johnson Weldon, not Johnson Sharpe, that same day that I lost the nomination, I went to a fundraiser and I raised over $100,000 for that ticket. I was running the fundraiser along with with Nick Sarwark, who was the chair, still was our chair at the time, and we raised about $130,000 for them. And whenever they asked me to MC events, go to fundraisers, speak, I got behind them 100%. I showed up when they asked me to show up. I was behind them 100%, trying to make, give them the best I possibly could. And what I promise you, and a resolution I make in front of everybody, whoever that nominee is, I will do my best to follow through exactly the same way. I will try my best to raise as much money as I can, to raise as much of their profile, to get them as much press, to support them in the press to the best of my ability. I completely agree, because you're right. Not only is the election important, which it is, but more important for most of us is ballot access. And for New York State, because of our new rules that just came into effect, we need to get 160,000 votes in New York State from that presidential nominee for us to retain ballot access. So I need a lot. Now, don't get me wrong, Gary Johnson in 2016 got 175,000. So it's doable. But we've got to hit Gary Johnson numbers again with whoever this nominee is.
But we need to fire with the right message, no matter who that nominee is. And if I'm going to go into New York State, specifically New York City, with a single message focusing on what's been going on recently and over the last 2 decades, I'm going to point to the declassified 28 pages, the financing of the 9/11 attacks by Saudi Arabia, and ask, why are we in the Middle East propping up the House of Saud? Let ISIS take Saudi Arabia. Who cares? They exist because they think the House of Saud is an affront to their religion. Let them fight it out. It is gross that our young men and women defend the people who finance the attack on our shores. It's beyond gross, and we need to get behind that message in a big way.
What I found when I crossed New York State, and this is going to make a lot of libertarians' heads want to explode, most people only cared about their own local issues. Most people cared about the local issues and one very esoteric concept like abortion or the build that wall or immigration or open borders, or one very big kind of esoteric thing that actually didn't affect them at all, and local issues that affected them directly. The middle ground was something that most people I found didn't care about. Some did, don't get me wrong, this is not a 100% rule, but the vast majority cared about one big issue that actually did not affect them at all, but was more theoretical or emotional. And then, hey, the traffic light in my town, my farm, my business, the chickens got out, right? I mean, that was what I found was the biggest issues. I worry that while that issue that you mentioned is absolutely important, I worry that most New Yorkers will be like, I guess, yeah, But here's my big issue that doesn't affect me at all, that I care about for some reason. And the traffic light doesn't work on my corner. That's my concern. Does that make sense?
So you're kind of pinning it to finding a way to message on to message on decentralization more so than anything. Given the idea, if the federal government didn't tax you so much, you could do so much more at home, et cetera, et cetera. And we do have the right to free travel in this country, so we can vote with our feet.
Yes. Absolutely.
So yeah, I believe there's a lot to be said on that, and it's so tough trying to find those emotional trigger issues. But for some reason, I just feel going back to 9/11 and the idea that it was Saudi Arabia, we might be able to get people fired up because no one else wants to touch it, because I do believe the House of Saud has a ton of dirt on a ton of people. That's why we don't.
Maybe I think I've just lost you. All right. Well,
Yep.
I think I've just lost him. It's fine. I think I've lost him, so it's okay. We'll move on and we'll grab on the call then. Thank you so much for calling. I appreciate what you were talking about, and I think those are absolutely amazing ideas and amazing resolutions. I am in. I want to head over back to New York. We're gonna talk about some Spanish. I think. I like talking about Spanish. I think that's awesome. Let's talk about Spanish. We're going to deal with Michael from New York. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing good, Larry.
What's going on?
How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing.
Well, yeah.
Tell me about Spanish.
Yeah, well, there's this app that I've been using in the past and all that really helps with the reviews and stuff for Spanish. I don't know if you ever heard of Duolingo.
I know Duolingo. Of course I do. That's that little green bird, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know. Yes. I've used many different apps. I've used Duolingo with the little green bird. I've used Babbel in the past. I've used Rosetta Stone in the past. That's the blue stone. So yeah,
Right.
I've used, and I've also used one called Busuu, Bussuu. That's a European one. I've used 4 different apps to kind of pick up 3 or 4 different languages. I speak many languages very poorly. I don't speak any of them very good. I speak many languages very poorly. I speak a little bit of Japanese very badly, a little bit of Spanish very badly, a little bit of German very badly, and terrible English, obviously. So yes, these are the languages that I speak.
Right. I think Duolingo is like it's like 100% free, but it's ad supported.
Oh.
And then for low cost, you get, if you can get Duolingo Plus, and it's like ad free. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you,
But,
Michael,
like,
did you learn the language yet or no?
Well, about that, like,
Uh-oh.
it's good for reviews and stuff. I actually took Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 when I was going to high school down in Texas
Okay.
before I came back to New York.
Welcome back.
Right? Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would learn all. So I guess when I was, I guess part of it is you got to learn the rules to the Spanish.
Michael, I think you're dodging the question. Did you learn Spanish or no?
Yo poquito hablo español.
Oh, I like that. A little bit. Okay, that's good. I'll take that. That's a good answer. I like that. He did it in Spanish,
Right.
too. Well done. Nicely done.
Yeah.
All right, so
And
tell you what I'm going to do.
I'm not,
I'm gonna jump back on Duolingo. You have made me decide I'm gonna do that. All right, you win, Michael. I'm gonna go back on Duolingo. I'm gonna try to learn some Spanish again. See if I can do a bit better. I'm gonna jump on Duolingo next week. Is that good?
Yeah, sounds like a plan, Larry.
All right, man. I'm in. Thanks for the call.
You're welcome, Larry. Anytime.
Have a good one.
You too, Larry.
All right. Guys, see, this is good. This resolution stuff is good. It's good for the party. It's good for individuals. It's good for everybody. If we're stronger as individuals, we're stronger as a group. And I want to go back if I could. I'm sorry I lost our Colorado caller, Matt. I apologize. I don't know why.
I agree. I agree.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. I appreciate it.
All righty. Have a good one. So
You too.
I'm sorry we lost Matt from Colorado. Maybe his cell phone dropped, whatever that was. But in any case, I think his ideas were good ideas. I think we do want to get those percentages. For those of you who don't know, maybe don't care, but I hope you care. For many states, not all, but for many, I think it's about 25 states or so, they get ballot access based upon the percentage of the vote they get on any statewide election, which would mean a senator or a governor or a president. It's a statewide election. So our presidential candidate has to gain a lot of votes in each state so that each state can retain ballot access. So we have chances to win those local House seats that he was talking about. And I think local is a key, right? Top of ticket matters. I have to say that because I was top of ticket in 2018, right? And my goal in 2018 was to get ballot access. I did. But something else, it was to build the infrastructure out and to get people excited to run in 2019 and to have local victories. And we got that. We got ballot access and we got many local victories in New York State, about 100 if you count all our fusion candidates. That's a lot of victories in a state that had basically zero before that, right? We had Deborah Altman, as amazing as she was, and it still is, she's won. Now we got a whole bunch of people who came in behind her, right? So we want to make sure that we make that happen for the entire nation. Some of you may not care. I know, some of you may not, but I do. I want you to look at what this year is going to bring. Think about what's going to happen mid-November 2020, mid-November of this year. Trump either wins or Trump loses. It doesn't matter for us because regardless of whether he wins or loses, half of the country is going to think that we have an illegitimate president. If Trump wins, the left is going to say, it was the Russians, they did it, they were cheating, electoral college is evil. They're going to say that. If Trump loses, it was a deep state, it was the Hillary people, it was this, it was that. There is going to be an excuse for whoever becomes the president or whomever becomes the president. It's going to be an excuse either way. So that means that no matter what, people are going to believe we have an illegitimate president. That's a problem. Where are all those unhappy, angry people going to go? Either they resort to something stupid like violence or something like that, or they just check out. Terrible idea too. More importantly, they come to this. They come to us. They come to our movement because we're ready, we're smart, we're savvy, we've got some people ready to help them out, and we can make a change. That's what I want to see. That's why I care. That's why this matters. Let's make a resolution to be ready for them when those people who are upset, who are angry, need a place to go. Let them come to us. If we show them that we care, if we show them our hearts, they will listen to our minds. Show them our hearts, and they will listen to our minds. If we just yell at them, they're not going to hear us. All right, I'm heading a lot of Michaels today. I'm heading back to New York again for another Michael. Somebody wants to tell me about some ideas for the show. I love it. It's awesome. So I'm going to grab Michael from New York, another Michael from New York. Michael, how are you?
Hi, Larry. I spoke with you earlier.
Hey, that's why so many Michaels. It's the same Michael. That's why. Okay. How are you, sir?
Good. I don't know why I'm talking to you, Larry. When I called, I said, I don't want to speak to Larry. I want to speak to someone else.
Okay, well, talk to you. You got me now. Talk to me.
Okay. Well, Larry, you know how you normally have someone on your show with you to talk?
Yeah.
I had a couple of show ideas for your group.
Tell me.
Well, instead of doing that, why don't I just talk about something else? Like why?
Okay, do that. I'm in, brother. Let's do it.
I'm either a Democrat or a Republican. I'm not registered as a third-party voter.
Okay.
Why I do this is so that I can vote in every election.
Mm-hmm.
Doing otherwise, like being a libertarian or a Green Party member or anything, negates me from voting at least 80% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
Here is the issue. Depends upon where you are, but that is very often true. Because the problem is you can only vote in a primary in New York State. That's not every state. Some states have open primaries. And if the state has an open primary, that doesn't matter, right? If the state has open primaries, you can vote in any primary. You simply have to vote in only one of them. So in that case, I believe New Hampshire has open primaries. I'm sure someone will let me know if that's true or not. But I believe it's New Hampshire's open primaries. If you live in New Hampshire, I think you can vote in any primary as long as you vote in just one of them. New York State does not have that, right? If you're a registered Democrat, you can only vote in a Democratic primary. And if your districts are gerrymandered, as so many are, we know already who's going to win. We know what party's going to win. So the primary becomes the actual election. So I think in many cases, you're absolutely correct. But here's two things to remember. Number one, you can vote in a general election no matter what. Regardless of what party you're registered, this only affects the primaries. And if you're gerrymandered, right? And of course, many are. But it's a second.
No, that's not right, Larry.
Tell me.
No matter when people come to vote, there are other local issues that are on that ballot. And
yes.
To say that, if it's a general election, everyone can vote or something like that, that's not true.
Why isn't it true? Tell me why.
Because other issues are put onto the ballot.
Yes.
I don't care if it's...
I'm agreeing with you, but the issue is those issues are put on the ballot during the general election. And during the general election, anyone can vote. During a primary is only for the nomination of the individual for that party.
Larry, now I've lived on the West Coast. I've lived on the East Coast in Florida, New York, whatever. And registering as a third-party candidate is never a wise thing. Now, I've voted the same way for the last 20 years. And sadly to say, I've always voted Green Party the last 20 years.
Why is that sad? If that's what you thought was the right vote, that's a good vote.
No, Larry, that has excluded me from many issues I wanted to vote on, first of all. Another thing is that by voting Green Party, a third-party candidate, it stopped me from understanding the party of libertarians. Yeah.
But hold on. Let me cover your issues here. I'm going to cover this real fast if I could. The first thing to remember is there are many cases where you are correct. I'm not fighting you on those issues. In many cases, you are correct. I'm just saying not all of them, right? Depending upon what state you're in, depends on what issue you're trying to achieve. What you're trying to achieve. It's just not 100%, but it's often you're right. But there's a bigger issue here. If you simply say, "I'm not going to register a third party. I'm just going to stay with the duopoly, and that's all I'm going to do," then nothing is actually going to get better. I need more people to go third party. Now, will that sometimes be a vote that you will feel, wait a minute, I missed out on something? Yes, sometimes that will be true. And the same thing, many times your vote in the primary is also useless and thrown away because we already know who's going to win the primary. We already know who's going to win the actual election. Many times that's true also. So while sometimes that vote may feel like it had no power as third party, it may be true. Also, sometimes that vote in the major two parties will also sometimes be a useless or invalid vote. I think both of them can be, depending upon where you are in this country and what issues you're voting for. But when it comes to the bigger picture, if we don't build a third party sometime, then we will never build it. At one point, you got to start building it. Please tell me. I want to hear this.
Because there's more than one third party.
Okay.
And let me elaborate on that statement.
I believe Florida, Michael, you don't have to. I got you. True. I agree. You're right.
It's true. Then let me finish. In Florida, when I voted for Ralph Nader instead of Gore or Bush, libertarians were not on the ballot.
Yes, I believe that. I don't remember that, but I believe it.
Well, I hope you believe it because
Yep.
it's true, Larry.
I believe it
The
100%.
Green Party was on the ballot.
Yep.
Are libertarians only in New York, or are they in Florida, or are they in Oregon? Because I'm never going to vote for a libertarian when they're not on a presidential ballot.
That is a very valid concern. Let me be very clear about something. It's a great question, too. In 2016, the Libertarian Party was in all 50 states. We were the only third party that was in all 50 states. The Green Party was in
that's a
40.
lie.
No, it's true. We're the only third party.
Oh, really?
Yes.
The Green Party wasn't involved?
That's correct. No, they were not in all 50 states. They were in 40 some odd states. They were not in all 50. The Constitution Party was in 20 some odd states. They were not in all 50. That's true. Do your homework, Michael. I'm serious.
Well,
they were not in all 50. 40 some odd
well,
states.
Larry. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just saying, your point's a valid point. I'm agreeing with you yet again. All I'm saying is the Libertarian Party was indeed in all 50 states in 2016, and looks like, I can't be 100% sure, but looks like we'll be in all 50 states again in 2020. And I believe the Green Party will only be in 40 some odd states and will not make all 50. I don't know that for sure. That's my belief based upon 2016.
And do you know why the Green Party wasn't in every state in 2016 or in 2020, Larry?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, your opinion is different than mine.
Okay.
I could say it's because they didn't keep using the same political symbol that Democrats or Republicans used for the last 20 years. Maybe you could say, well, the libertarians weren't even alive in the year 2000. I'd like to hear your reasoning, though.
No. We actually have had libertarian presidents, nominees since 1972. We've actually had them, but they haven't always been all 50 states. Your point's a valid point. I'm not fighting on it. You're correct. What I'm saying is now,
do you know what their party symbol was?
Back then, was it the Statue of Liberty?
I'm talking about the Green Party.
Oh, I have no idea.
Up until the year 2016.
I don't know.
Okay. It was a hemp leaf.
Oh, look at that. A hemp leaf. Look at that.
What was that?
I like that. Hemp leaf. I like that.
I mean, while it got legal hemp in 2018's Farm Bill, I mean, I've been for hemp since before 1985 when I graduated.
Sure.
I didn't smoke pot or anything all through high school, but I'm sort of like an engineer. I mean, I've skipped a couple grades. I'm good at math. I took drafting, engineering, I've done all the BS. One thing I did know before 1985 is that while a cellulose fiber of a wood plant is a 1/4 inch long.
Wow, you're killing me. You're killing me, dude. You're killing me on that one. You're going too deep on this one.
The last part is a hemp plant is 10 to 15 feet long, Larry.
I totally believe you.
That's it.
Michael, I got to grab some more people. Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate the 2 calls. I do. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
I'm calling your guys right back, though.
Okay.
Right, bye, Larry.
Bye. Talk to you soon. All right. He's going to call you back. He doesn't want to talk to me. He wants to talk to you guys. It's fine. All good. All right. So, you to my people, I guess. Talk to them. They're good guys. They are nice guys. And they'll make you laugh sometimes, too. So you can call them and talk to them if you like. All right. I want to grab some more stuff on the internet. I got a lot of stuff piling up here. How do you feel about Staten Island seceding from New York City? Okay, if you want to. I mean, we've got a bridge that you've got to pay like $18 to cross. So I get it. I don't, for those of you who don't know this, in New York City, the bridges to cross, the tolls have just gone up. So we have bridges now that cost $18, $19 to cross one way. Yes, that's the toll to cross one bridge. So I get why Staten Island wants to back away. I get it completely. Let me keep going if I could. Do you think establishing Kurdistan would help peace in the Middle East and or establishing Sunni and Shiite their own nation states? Well, this is a detailed question. Some of you may or may not know this, but there are multiple factions within the Middle East, within Islam. The two biggest ones are Sunni and Shiite, or Shia, depending upon how you pronounce that. So, if we wouldn't have drawn arbitrary lines, and had British and French and Americans divvy up the place, that would have happened on its own, right? They would have had their own civil wars. They would have had their own border wars, just like India did to create Pakistan and India. That kind of thing would have happened, whatever the equivalent would have been in the Middle East, and we would have had it. The reason why we have so many of these issues is very highly directly related to us drawing arbitrary lines in the sand, deciding Iraq is different from Jordan and different from Iran because we decided so. So I think that's definitely an issue. Kurdistan, if we were to create Kurdistan, we'd be at war basically with Turkey. The Turks do not want Kurdistan at all. For those who don't know, Kurds are a regional ethnic group within the Middle East. They encompass areas, their homeland encompasses areas within Turkey and Iraq and Iraq. And I think Syria also. Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Turkey. And to create Kurdistan, to create their Kurdistan, you'd have to take up pieces of each country. You could create, and they already kind of have created a Kurdistan already in Syria and Iraq. I love the idea of Kurdistan. I think people should be able to have their own nations and homelands, and I wish we would do it. The only issue is if we do it, does that mean we now have to put Marines there to guard it? If you're saying create it and let them run their own defense, all good. The Kurds have fought pretty well against the Turks. There's 80 million Turks and nowhere near as many Kurds. So I think there's an issue with being bullied. We'd have to be able to say, don't fight each other. Maybe that. So I think Kurdistan's a wonderful idea. The Sunni and Shia fights have been happening for literally 700 years or more, maybe 1,000 years by now. It's been many years, maybe over 1,000 years now. It's been a long time they've been fighting. And, we had the same thing in the Christian world with Catholics versus Protestants. And in certain cases, we're still fighting, right? Some parts of Northern Ireland are still fighting that. We're still doing some fighting over that already. So they have to have their battles also. What are your thoughts on Lincoln Chafee's presidential announcement? Well, he was on the show. So I'm one of the first people to have him on the show before he was a presidential candidate. And if you want to see him, feel free to head over to Anchor or head over to thesharpeway.com or my YouTube page, The Sharpe Way, and you can actually type in Lincoln Chafee, and you will actually see that 2-hour interview that I had with him. I think he seems like a good guy. I think he has a way to go to be a better libertarian. I hope he goes that way. That'd be nice. I'd like him to be a better libertarian. I think he's much more of an independent than he is a libertarian, which is not a bad thing. But if he's going to run as a libertarian, I'd rather him be a better libertarian, and I hope that he will become that. And if he does become that, good for him. And if he doesn't, let's hope someone else who's a better libertarian pops up. So I'm reserving judgment because we'll see what happens in May, and we'll see where he is in May, and I hope that he becomes a better libertarian. Do you think the U.S. will ever nuke another country? Didn't we already do that? It's called Japan, right? We kind of did already. So yes, because we have already. Do you think anyone will ever nuke the U.S.? Do I think anyone will ever nuke another country? I think that there has to eventually be another nuclear attack. It just has to happen. The odds are it will be us as a retaliatory strike or as a preemptive strike or something like that. But I think it has to be eventually. These are weapons that will eventually be used. I think they will. Do I think that anyone will nuke the U.S.? No, I think if the U.S. is hit with a nuclear weapon, I believe it will be either a dirty bomb or it will be one of those suitcase bombs. I do not think there'll be a nuclear launch or ICBM or a bomb that we dropped from a plane. I don't see any of that stuff. I think conventional warfare against the United States simply doesn't work. I think we figured this out since basically Korea. We figured out that conventional warfare doesn't work. America wins when it comes to conventional warfare. So the only way to fight America to have any victory is, and the Vietnamese have proven this, is through guerrilla tactics. The Afghanis have proved this. The Al-Qaeda, ISIS have proved this. The way to beat America is not through conventional warfare. It's through guerrilla warfare, and that's why they do it. So if there is any type of nuclear attack on America, it'll be guerrilla type, which is either a dirty bomb. For those who don't know what a dirty bomb is, it's basically a large regular bomb that has radioactive material in it. So that when the explosion happens, the big regular bomb, all of the nuclear material spreads throughout every area of the explosion and basically contaminates it and makes it all radioactive and uninhabitable for X hundred years. So that's a dirty bomb, unless you clean it up in certain ways, which I don't know how they clean it, but I'm assuming they have ways of cleaning it. So that's what a dirty bomb is. That kind of thing can be smuggled in someplace or found someplace, or a tactical nuke, basically a suitcase bomb, something like that, right? Which is the kind of nuclear weapon that will like knock out several blocks, that type of thing. Doesn't destroy an entire city, doesn't level things. I don't think we'll have that. But could that happen to America? Sure. Why couldn't it? Of course it could. Do I think it will right now? No. Why? Because they'd already do it. If it was that easy to make that happen, people would have already done it. What too many people don't understand is we watch too many TV shows and we think that it's very easy to, one, get nuclear material, put it in a bomb, get it someplace and set it off. None of these things are simple. Why? To do this, you have to have infrastructure to make this happen. You have to have enough individual civilians around that you trust to be able to get this bomb from point A to point B without anyone figuring it out, to get the material from point A to point B without anyone figuring it out, to get the right people who know how to handle this material without killing themselves or killing others, and letting everyone else know they've got a nuclear bomb in their house or nuclear material in their backyard, and then moving it through across borders into a certain area and detonating without killing themselves before it goes off. This is by no means an easy task. I mean, it's very hard to do, which is why I don't think you'll see it soon. But I think if there's ever a nuclear attack on America, it will be that type of attack if there ever is one, because conventional warfare doesn't work against America, and people have stopped using that kind of warfare against us in the 70s. I mean, I guess theoretically Saddam tried in 1990 and didn't work. So, I mean, conventional warfare doesn't work. We always win when it comes to conventional warfare. It is guerrilla warfare that we lose, and that's why they do that towards us. All right. Cuomo is giving his State of the State Wednesday. If you had the opportunity to address him in person there, what would you say? I wouldn't say anything to him. And this is something that I really want New Yorkers and even Americans to think about. In the case of Cuomo, who, for those of you who aren't New Yorkers, he's our governor. He's a three-term governor. He's been our governor now for about 10 years. The state has been collapsing straight for 10 years. We've lost over 1 million people. We have a $6 billion deficit, a $400 billion debt, and it's getting worse. Nothing but worse. It's no longer about him. He has shown you who he is. If your brother comes to you and says, "Hey, brother, I love you. Can I borrow some money?" and you give him $1,000 or whatever, and he goes off and pisses it away. Then he comes back and goes, "Oh, I was kidding that time. Come on, let me borrow the money." And you go, "You know, brother, I love you. I'm going to give you a second chance. Here's another $1,000. Go do it. Good luck, brother. I love you. You're my man." He goes out, pisses it away, doesn't give it back. Comes back a third time. "Come on, give me $1,000. At one point, this is your fault. At one point, you've got to say, the brother's taught you who he is, what he's going to do, and if he gives you $1,000, if you give him $1,000, he doesn't pay you back, that's your fault at one point. At one point, you've got to stop giving him the money, right? At one point, New York's got to stop voting for this guy. This is no longer his fault. His Majesty King Andrew Cuomo II has shown us who he is for 10 straight years. It is no longer his fault. It is ours. What would I say to him? Well done. You've been fooling us for 10 years, and people are still buying your horseshit. Well done. You've been raping this state for 10 years and bending us over, and we keep saying, "Thank you, sir, may I have another?" I don't know why we keep doing it, but man, we just keep doing it. You are good at what you do. That's probably what I would tell him. Because I'm not mad at him anymore. Why should I be? We should be upset with ourselves. I spoke earlier in this show. The first thing I talked about was looking in the mirror, and before you point the finger at someone else, point it at yourself. I'm no longer mad at him anymore. I was. Not anymore. Not anymore. He won with a massive margin. We begged him to bend us over, and he's doing it. And now we're angry? We begged him for it. He asked for permission, and we said yes. 2-1, we said yes. Why am I mad at him? I'm mad at myself, disappointed in myself, disappointed in us as New Yorkers, disappointed in our infrastructure, disappointed in who we are as a state, that we keep doing this. We have to change to get rid of him. We can get rid of him. Just vote him out. Stop trying to vote for the other two guys. It's not going to vote, not going to work. It's libertarian or it's nothing. And for you New Yorkers out there who are listening, and many of you are, let me be very clear about something. When it comes to 2022, you have two choices. One, you vote libertarian. Two, you get 20 years of Cuomo. I'm not exaggerating by that. Those of you who may not know this, there are no term limits in New York State. He can run as much as he wants. He isn't that old. He'll run at least 2 more times. You will get 20 years of Cuomo. 20 years of this pain, 20 years of this destruction. New York State will wind up going under. Every farm you have is gone. Every business you had is gone. Your family's already left the state. That's happened with half of us here. Our families left the state. The state's a disaster. It is our fault, not his anymore. He has shown us who he is, and we keep voting for him. Or voting for the other sacrificial lamb who makes no sense. Stop believing Republicans in this state. Stop that shit. That's stupid. Stop it. They haven't won an election in 18 now. 19, what is it? 18 years now? 18 years. Not going to start all of a sudden this year. Now they're going to win. Stop that. Republicans are leaving this state like there's no tomorrow. Yeah, I think it's 3-1 now, if not mistaken, Democrat, Republican. Stop that. You're voting gold in 2022, or you're getting 20 years of His Majesty's dystopia. Those are your two choices. I'm sorry, there's a third choice. You move out. And that's sadly what over 100,000 New Yorkers are doing. They're just packing it and leaving. I don't want to leave. So when he does his state of the state, it will be an embarrassment. I will want to vomit. It will make me feel terrible because of the failure that we have, but I don't blame him anymore. It is no longer his fault. At one point, we have to look in the mirror and blame ourselves. So that's our fault. I hope I answered your question. All right. Why do so many Americans support us having even more military action in yet another Middle Eastern country? It's actually a very simple answer. It makes us feel good. It's good distraction, right? As we're bombing other people and doing something over there, we can ignore the bad things that are happening here. It's a common issue, right? Distraction happens all the time. People love to beat up Trump. Oh, Trump's bombing people. Obama bombed people. Bush bombed people. Clinton bombed people. They were all bombed. They get in trouble, bomb people. That's what we do. That's what presidents do. So it isn't like Trump's so special in bombing people. He bombs like everybody else does. He did, as I said, he did bomb an actual uniformed person. That was a big deal. But bombing people, they all do it. So they do it because it makes us feel good. We scream USA. We put yellow ribbons on the back of our vehicles. Act like we care about our veterans. We don't. We've proven that since Vietnam. We don't care about our veterans. We act like we do, and then we yell USA, and we get mad when someone kneels or burns the flag. We pretend to be American, and we forget what a crappy situation we're in as our police state continues to grow, and as more and more people are underemployed and scared and losing their families. So that's why, because it feels good. It's a drug for us as Americans. All right, do you think Trump is just distracting from his impeachment trial with Iran? Of course, every president does. I just said that. They all do it. They just bomb. And the best part for Republicans right now is bombing Iran makes, again, Republicans gain the we're the patriots. Everyone else is evil. We're patriots. How can you attack our president when he's defending us from the bad guys now? Of course. Absolutely. Yes. All right. I'll try to go through some of these. There's a lot of you. Thank you so much for giving me so many questions. I'll try to answer them if I can. Do you think Yang or Gabbard have a shot at winning the Democratic president nominee? Sadly, no, I don't. I think of the Democrats, Yang and Gabbard are probably the best Democrats they have, and I think they virtually have no chance of victory. They're the outsiders, right? And for those of you who like Trump, you should be happy about this because these guys could probably beat Trump. There's a chance they could actually beat Trump. So if you like Trump, you're probably happy about this fact. If you don't like Trump, you're probably unhappy about this fact, right? The reality of it is the advantage that Gabbard has is Gabbard actually does pull some Trump voters. She goes on Fox News. People know who she is. If she were to actually win the Democratic nomination, she could get all the Democrats who hate Trump and will vote Democrat no matter who it is. And she'll get some people who are Republicans who don't like something Trump did or are never Trumpers or whatever. Those people would actually vote for her. So she has a chance of actually beating Trump. And she'll never get the nomination because they've made her the evil stepchild of the Democratic Party. Yang might also win because he crosses over everything. He's this kind of cool guy who all the youngsters want to vote for. They don't care if he's left or right or whatever. They just think he's cool and they love the UBI idea. So he actually has a shot also of beating Trump. And I think both of them have virtually no chance of winning. The Democratic Party is doing the same thing it did in 2016. It is trying to push the establishment on the party itself. And what they haven't realized is the Democratic Party, when it wins, it usually wins with relative outsiders, right? Clinton was a relative outsider, right? He was still an insider guy, but relative to guys like Tsongas, if you're old enough to know these things, Tsongas and Mondale, these were, senators for 30 years, that kind of stuff. They weren't hippies or rebels. Clinton was, compared to other Democrats, he was a rebel and he won, right? But who lost? Gore. Gore lost, right? Who the other guy who lost? Kerry, he lost, right? The establishment guy, Hillary Clinton lost. Establishment, Hillary's establishment as they get, lost. Barack Obama wins again compared to other Democrats, an outsider. If Bernie had won the nomination in 2016, he might have beaten Trump. There were Bernie bros who left Bernie and voted for Trump or stayed home. What if those people had stayed with Bernie? Bernie might have won. He might have been our president. The Democratic Party hadn't pushed Bernie out. The Democratic Party is trying to force the establishment in yet again. They've learned nothing. And I think that's giving a better chance that Trump will win again. So I don't know if he'll win, but it's a better chance he's going to win, I think, because they're not doing that. I think that actually Gabbard and Yang would, if they were to win the nomination, I think they'd have a chance of beating Trump because I think they cross over the standard Democrat-Republican lines. All right. Are you going to run for New York governor again? Please. I appreciate that. The odds are very high I will, but I don't want to guarantee it. If there is someone else who I think could do a better job, I would absolutely step back and let them do it. If there's somebody else who could raise enough money, who could raise enough votes to get that 160,000 that we'll need again in 2022, I would absolutely do it again. I would absolutely back that person instead. Do I want to spend another year and a half out of my life not having a salary, being away from my family so I can do it again? Not particularly, but I would. So if someone else could do it, that's awesome. If not, I would consider doing it. All right. Do you think the White House or Capitol are truly at risk of being attacked by Iran? I don't think so. I don't. I don't think Iran has the capability. I don't think they have the will. I don't believe that Iran actually wants an all-out war with America. I think Iran is very happy with proxy wars. For those who don't understand what that means, they like fighting, let's fight in Lebanon with Hezbollah. Let's fight in Iraq with Iranian-backed militia. These are proxy wars where they kill Americans and fight Americans, but not on Iranian soil and not in official capacity. I think they prefer that. And the reason why they prefer that, and you might think, why would they want this? Because the regime in Iran is a relatively unpopular regime. The only way they're able to stay in power as strong as they are is by having an outside enemy. Similar to America, having an outside enemy. You forget how bad internally things are. Iran plays the same game. Iran is happy to have us as an enemy because as long as America's being the evil Satan, the great Satan, the big evil people, well, their people have to depend upon them, their leadership to defend them against evil Satan and all these different types of things. So I think they're happy to fight proxy wars all day long. They don't mind sacrificing their youth to keep the regime in power at all. They've been doing it for, 30, 40 years now. They haven't changed, and it's been working for them. I don't think they want to change that. But I do not think they want an actual war. I don't think the Iranians actually want Marines landing on beaches, Army airborne units landing in their cities, Air Force, bombers bombing them, naval units shelling them from the sea. I don't think they want an actual war on their land. I think they're happy fighting proxy wars. So I don't think that's an actual issue. I think they'll do more and more proxy wars. It makes sense for the people in charge and leadership that they have. I hope I'm answering your questions. Now that we have ballot access, the caller can only vote in Libertarian primary if he changes his party to Libertarian. Yes, that's correct. So if you want to vote in Libertarian primary, and by the way, guys, a quick pump for New York State. If you want to vote in the New York State primary, which is April 28th of this year, you have to change your party affiliation to Libertarian so you can vote for it. Not just that, I'm doing many events coming up here this weekend. The weekend of the 11th, I will be upstate New York. Go to my Larry Sharpe Common Libertarian Facebook page and you will see my event schedule. Show up, say hi to me, shake my hand, and if you're Libertarian, sign a petition. There will be petitions there to sign for people to be on the ballot on our first ever primary, Libertarian primary in New York State. If you want to be part of that, please sign a petition. Change your registration to Libertarian. Sign a petition, come to an event, support a candidate, and vote in April of this year for the first Libertarian primary in New York State ever. Let's do this. Let's show them that we're real, show them that we matter, show them that this is important, and that we are growing and we're not going away. So thank you for that. All right. Let's see. Hold on. I think did we do it right? All right. I think we're good. All right. I think we got everybody. So I think I covered all of the people who typed in. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think I got it all. Awesome. All right. Thank you guys for all the things that you typed and put online. I appreciate it. I try to get most of them if I can. I'm all about answering questions. I appreciate that. Let me go back to the common thread that you heard me talk about from the beginning of the show. And that is renewal in January, looking in the mirror, making the changes required that we can make to make our movement better. In everything you heard me talk about today, I talked about that issue. What can we do to make ourselves better so we can make the movement better? What can we do to make ourselves stronger so that as a group we are stronger? If we focus only on external, and this is a problem that many of us have, and it's literally, there's actually an issue when it comes to, people who are helpers, right? Who stay home to help and are caregivers, right? Caregivers for the elderly, caregivers for children with disabilities, caregivers. Very often caregivers get sick because the caregivers spend so much time trying to help the other, their child, their parent, their sister, their loved one. They spend so much time trying to help others that they neglect themselves and they get sick. They die, literally. I mean, very often after the parent passes, right after that, the other person goes in depression, they die too. It's very important that we don't do that. Now, that's in the family, but there's something else. We do that professionally. We throw ourselves into our business. We throw ourselves into our job, and that's all we care about. Gotta work, gotta work, gotta work. We forget about our own health. We forget about our own mental health. We forget about our own friends and family. We forget about our relationships. And now we're the best we can be at this job. And then we lose our job or the job goes away. And what do we have? Nothing, because we get sick. When we get sick and we can't work anymore, now we have nothing. And now we're going to fall back to our family and friends who we've been ignoring for the past 5-10 years. And they don't want to hear it anymore. Not just that. Also, when it comes to politics, we jump on movements. You find people who say, this movement matters, and they put on their MAGA hat, or they put on their pink you-know-what hat, or they put on their Larry Sharpe shirt. It's the only one that's worthy. They put whatever they're going to put on, right? They put it on, and they go outside, and they fight, and it's all about the movement, and all about the movement, and all about the movement, and they are ignoring themselves, their family, their friends, their health, their finances, everything. And before you know it, they've collapsed. They're falling apart in the name of the movement. Well, what's just happened? Well, the movement is now weaker because you're weaker. What happens in your company when you collapse? Well, the company is now weaker because you're not working. What happens for your family when you can't work or you get sick because you can't be a caregiver? Well, now your son or daughter is now suffering, or your mom or dad is now suffering because you can't be a caregiver. While this may seem off topic of what I usually talk about, it isn't. The individual matters. You matter. The individual matters. If you are individually strong, the larger whole is strong. Your family is stronger. Your business or your company is stronger. Your job or work is stronger. The movement is stronger. How in the world, when I run in 2022, you guys want me to run in 2022, right? When I run in 2022, how am I going to get you guys to run out there and wave signs for me if you're sick in the hospital? You can't, because you're sick in the hospital. You can't sign wave for me. How am I going to get you to write me a check for $10,000 when you can't work? I hope you give me $10,000. That'll be amazing. But $100 when you can't work. How am I going to get you to show up to my events when you're sitting in your own bed? You can't get out of bed because you're so sick, because you've been taking care of your parents, not taking care of yourself. How am I going to get your dad or mom to vote when she can't get out of bed because you can't help her, because you can't get out of bed? The individual matters, and I want you to really understand that. Take a day, a time like this to do some self-reflection. Are you putting too much on something outside of yourself? Or are you spending a lot of time doing something else? Pointing that finger at somebody else and not pointing it at yourself. I don't mind if you point the finger at someone else. I do it all the time. I'm always pointing the finger. Do it all the time. But I also, in addition to pointing that finger at you and others, I also point it at me. Also, I need you. I'm pointing my finger at you now. I need you the same thing. Don't just point the finger at others. Don't just yell and scream at others. Don't just care about the other and the bigger issue that's bigger than you. Also point the finger at you, yourself. Also try to fix yourself. Also take care of yourself. Because without you, everything else begins to collapse. You can't be bigger than yourself if you can't take care of yourself. You can't be part of something bigger if you can't be a good part, which means you've got to take care of yourself. I think the sermon part of this is probably over for now, but I'm not sure. But I think it is. And the last part I'll bring up in this is don't get caught in distraction. Most of the questions that I got today, most of them were questions about distraction. What do you think about this thing? What do you think about that thing? What do you think about this thing? I'm happy to answer those questions. There is some value in distraction. There's some value in just, playing video games or watching a cool movie or total distraction, right? There's some value in that. You don't want to always be hardcore worrying about serious issues. And sometimes you want to care about distraction or look at distraction, things that make you feel good, and eating that chocolate cake or whatever that thing is that you enjoy, whatever motivates you. Nothing wrong with that. But you can't get caught up in it. You can't think that all that matters. My daughter came home the other day and she said, Larry, she said, Daddy, she called me Larry. You guys call me Larry. She calls me Daddy. She said, Daddy, is there gonna be they're gonna like nuke New York? I said maybe. She said, what? I said maybe. It could happen, I guess. She said, what are we gonna do? I said nothing. Nothing's gonna change. What am I gonna do? We're moving out tomorrow. You know where we're going? I'm getting a new job. What are we doing? She's like, what do you mean? I said, I can sit here and worry about the chance that they might nuke New York City. It's possible. I live in New York City. 9/11 happened here. The Times Square bombing was going to happen until we stopped it. Yep. The first Tower 93 bombing happened here. Sure. Could happen. I live in the epicenter, right? I live in the belly of the beast. I get it. It could happen. Absolutely could happen. The blackout happened here. Could happen. 100% could happen. I can spend my time worrying about that, going nuts, or I can keep building the movement, or I can keep being as effective as I can be. And hopefully I become so super powerful and wealthy that I can pack up and move to some cool part of New York State and rebuild this cool gas media studio someplace else and hire all the guys and bring them up there to some cool place. We're all going to Vegas. We think about Vegas, guys, yeah? They're all like, yeah, so yeah, we're all going to Vegas. See, there we go. So I can move to Vegas and we're all going to go to Vegas and then rebuild this thing in Vegas or something, right? But I can't do that if I can't be strong. So how can I be strong? You can pay for this show. You can head it over to patreon.com/Sharpeway and give me tons of money so we can go to Vegas so that when they bomb this place, they don't get me. They get other people, not me. I can be selfish that way. I can bring all the cool guys over that you like to talk to on the phone, and we can keep this going. Now, seriously, though, if you like what I'm saying, if you like what I'm doing, if you think this is valuable, then support it. Head on over to patreon.com/Sharpeway. Donate whatever you can donate. $9, $10, $18. If you've got it, do $100. You got a bunch of money, do $500. Do what you've got. Whatever you can do. This costs time. This costs money. This takes up a big chunk of my day, a big chunk of my week. I don't mind. I'm doing it. I care. I want to keep doing it. I want to keep bringing people to this movement. I want to keep answering your questions. And I want to be accessible. A lot of people who've done what I've done have kind of gone away. They're no longer accessible. Excuse me. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be that guy that you can still talk to, still connect to, and that can help others. That takes time. That takes money. That takes energy. So thank you for that. I will leave you with one last idea. It is a story of actual renewal. I was chatting with a bunch of people who work for the Department of Buildings here in New York City. For those of you who may not know, building in New York City is a big deal. Literally, if a building collapses in New York City, thousands of people can die. We live on top of each other. 1 square mile of Manhattan has about 60,000 people in it. 1 block has about 1,400 people in it. That's how many people we have in this city, right? There's so much. The average block in New York City, I think, is 1,400 people. That's a lot of people in a block, right? 1 block, 60,000 in the average square mile of Manhattan. So building is important. So how do you decide to build and keep New York City functioning? How do you do that? It's going to sound crazy. 1 building at a time. 1 building at a time. You just start to build a new building, and it takes time. You have to knock down the old building sometimes. Sometimes you retain the old building. Sometimes you retain old parts. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you got to dig deep hole to start building that new building up to go even higher. Dig deep into the bedrock. Sometimes you can't because there's a subway there, all kind of crazy stuff going on. Who knows how that works? Sometimes you dig so deep. This is a true story. When there's a lot of construction in New York City, we have a rat problem. It's true. Why? Because we're digging up all the rats. They're coming from up underneath. We actually rats. We have rat problems in New York. The more we dig up, because the rats all come from up on the ground. We get tons of rats that come up and start eating up all the food and all the stuff that's left by workers and by the other people who come by and drop off food. And we have slapping rat problems. But what do? We keep building. This city, over time, begins to renew itself. 8.5 million people. And we renew and put new buildings up. Buildings that are 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 stories high. And we keep building slowly but surely. It's renewal right next to the old. If you go down by Wall Street, you'll find one of the oldest churches that there are in the country, Trinity Church. Literally, Alexander Hamilton is buried there. Yes, Alexander Hamilton is buried in New York. He's buried down on Wall Street, Trinity Church. If you go down there, you can find that his mausoleum. I think it's a mausoleum. I think it is. It's a big thing. I'm not sure if that's just a big headstone for his grave or whether it's a mausoleum. I'm actually not sure. I've seen it 1,000 times. I walk by it, but I'm not sure if it's a headstone or the actual mausoleum. But it's there. Something old, 200 and some odd years ago, right? Is it 200 some odd years ago is where it's from. and right next to it, a brand new building going up, and another brand new building going up. We can't change ourselves or our party or our movement or our government or our state overnight. It takes slow renewal, building by building, brick by brick. As Michael talked about the idea of not wanting to vote or vote third party because it's not going to work or not valuable, here's what I would tell you. When are you going to start? When are you going to start building that movement? When are you going to start putting that brick down? And when you start digging up to build that building and the rats come out, because they will, are you going to stop building, or are you instead going to deal with your rat problem and keep building and keep digging, deal with your rat problem and build that new building, and renewal, renewal, renewal. As you keep building new buildings, eventually what winds up happening? You've made a new city. The city's rebuilt itself. Over time, it has worked. If you look at what I've been trying to do here, and I hope most of you have been with me for most of this time, you see that's what we're doing. We're renewing, building by building by building, brick by brick, and we have rat problems, and we deal with our rat problems, and then we keep going. And every time we build a new building, we have more rat problems, we fix our rat problem, and we keep building new buildings. And eventually we're going to have a new block, a new city, a new state, a new nation. But at one point, we got to start building. For some of you who think this is too big of a task, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, I would ask you to do one important thing. From the first part of this show, look in the mirror and build yourself first. If you build yourself first, you can then build that house, that building, that city, that state. We can do it. All right, guys. I want to say thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate you guys paying attention to me yap as I do every Monday night for 2 hours. Remember, focus on yourself. Look in the mirror. I will see you all next week right here. 2 hours again next Monday here on the Sharpe Way.